market. If you have got issues, maybe it's about energy, it's about anything, then you bring your concerns to the ministry, and the ministry then tries to lobby. If it means maybe it's because of taxes which are a bit higher, then the ministry can actually lobby the relevant I would say arms of government, or the relevant ministry, and then the price ought to come to a position where it's fair. But it's a very important aspect of consumer protection, to say we don't want to charge prices that are actually beyond your consumers, because at the end of the day, if they cannot afford, you are not going to sustain your business, because no one is actually going to come in and buy. So it must be fair to both. We also don't want to undercharge, shortchange the supplier, because if we constantly say charge this particular price, the story of price controls. At the end of the day, we are not going to have that product on the market, and if the product is not on the market, then the very consumer that you feel you wanted to protect might actually end up worse off. But we want a situation where we strike a balance. It's a win-win. The consumer win, also the service provider wins, because we need both in the marketplace.
Okay, someone is coming through our WhatsApp platform. Anzi mushop macho amuskupindi kapado apazi disability friendly. Anzi chistubu oma steps wheelchair aitopindi and anema impairment emakumbo apindi. This is Chairman Black Moses Go Highfield Gym. Thank you so much for coming through with that. I was actually going to come to that question. Yekuti kana tapedza kutsanangura ma rights aya kuti mukatenderera, especially ma shops are downtown. I spoke to a few vakanditsanangurira kuti aiwa kune vamwe vanofarira kungotorawo zvinhu zvavasina kuita sei kubhadhara, saka ndo vatinenge takaisirawo zvinhu izvozvo, so that tinovabata kana vaita sei vaba. But then we're then not thinking of other customers who are then failing to get inside the shop, nenya ma barriers atinenge tatoisa aya, because those with disabilities now avachakwanisi kuwana access. Titsanangurire ipapo vamdereri kuti mutemo uyu we-Consumer Protection Act uri kuti kudii nezviro izvi zvakuiswa pamisiwo yemashopu kuda kudzivisa ava vanenge vachiba.
Thank you so much. I think what I can say is that you see, in terms of business, they need to strike a balance between their profitability and also in terms of satisfying the interest of the consumers. I think if you have heard even the mantra that government has been talking about, is the issue that I'm just coming to you in terms of the issue of the barriers, that the mantra as a country is that we should not leave anyone behind. And we should not leave any place behind. So in terms of the Consumer Protection Commission, they are saying no, these businesses, they should make sure that their premises, they are friendly to both customers, whether they are disabled or although they are trying to protect themselves as business people in terms of what we are talking about, the issue of theft. But we are saying, you see, what we are doing, these issues that you are talking about, as a commission, we are taking note. So what we are going to do, was one of our major mandate, is to ensure that we educate these business people to say, these are the complaints. Because as the commission, we come in between the business people and the consumers. So we take the complaints that will be coming from the consumers, and then we engage the business people. So I think this question is actually very, very important to the Commission, because we have taken note, and what we are going to do is that we are going to engage this business so that at least we strike a balance, so that there's a win-win situation.
Correct. In fact, just to add on to what Mr. Mderer is talking about, I think one area which we also encourage businesses to look at is to tighten their security measures. It's not my fault that the last customer was stealing, and then you also want to punish me for their sins. What you expect them to do is to invest in security systems. I think you recall or you know in certain certain shops that you go into, they don't care about having someone at the door or not, but the actual security systems. If you pickpocket, as an example, there's actually an alarm that will come out that is triggered if you take anything. So invest in those areas so that you minimize, remove as much as possible the barriers. We need, free movement. And yes, I've actually noticed, witnessed these people getting into shops, vanagogo, vanani, vachida kuedza kujamba chimudhuri ichocho, unonzwa tsitsi, which becomes very unfortunate. So yes, as much as we understand there's pilferage, it's not everyone who gets into a shop with good intentions, but at the end of the day, do not punish those that are innocent. It's up to you to do the right things, invest in the right technology, so that you detect those that might be coming in for the wrong reasons.
Okay, and someone is coming through with and the consumers are forced to market retail shops when they buy carrier bags with retail logo. Why not sell carrier bags without a retail logo? This is Chiwonekano in Zvishavane. Hanziko kusechiwa zvako kuitwa kubatwa zvatinenge tichiitwa mumashopu izvi zvinokodzera here? Ndizvo here zvinofanira kuitwa kuti pese paunopinda kana kuti paunobuda zichinzi ngatione zvinhu zvawakatakura?
Again, using the same argument, it's unfortunate, unethical, morally wrong. What we witness, yes, it's degrading. So we need to do the right things. Yes, one might actually say, some of these shops, they actually segregate in terms of, if you go maybe to the low density areas, you are not subjected to such things. But if you go to the other side of, the market, you get all these sorts of things. It's unfortunate. Again, we need to have our shop owners, as an example, invest in security systems so that you detect anything that you actually feel that is unbecoming. Let's strike a balance. I think I've seen a number of people maybe position strategic position, security, personnel. Let's intensify those things. But to just assume that everyone is a thief, it's unfortunate, unethical, and we don't encourage that.
Okay, let's move on to the right to fair contractual agreements. What are we talking about? Anoitawo maagreement aya ndiani nekuti inini ndopinda mushopu kazvinhu zvatopo kudhara. What should I expect as a consumer in terms of fair contractual agreements?
Okay, thank you so much. In terms of the right to fair contractual agreements, we are saying that the consumers, they've got the right to fair and honest dealing, and what we are simply saying is that under the Consumer Protection Act, it prohibits suppliers and marketers from using physical force, coercion, undue influence, duress, harassment, unfair tactics against consumers in marketing and supply, negotiation of sale of goods or services, and also the issue that basically what we are saying in summary is that the suppliers, they should not take advantage of the consumers. Even I think you've been talking about people with disability, that these suppliers, in other words, we are saying consumers, mainly those who are disabled, they need to be protected so that these suppliers, they don't pursue their own interest or even taking advantage of someone because he is illiterate. I think those are the issues that we should also bring on board, or even taking advantage of that someone is ignorant. I think we are also saying that it should be a thing of the past, and these suppliers, they should take note of those things. And I think the other thing that should also talk about is that the Act, it prohibits service providers from displaying any sign that purports to disclaim any liability or deny any right that a consumer is under the Act or other law. I think if you look at I think section 42, it talks about the issue of the disclaimer clauses. Issues like I think we have seen in ticket buses that saying this issues to do with no refund
or parcels left at owner's risk.
Yes, at owner's risk. All those things, they must be things of the past. I think that's
okay. But Dr. Nkosi, tiri kupinda ma-shops and we still see ma-signage sticker anenge akaiswa kuti we don't refund, we don't exchange, we don't do this, even ma-receipts anenge akanyorwa izvozvo. Inini se-customer, what is my course of action? What's my redress pakadaro?
Right. Zvakangoma zviri kuitwa nemashops edu. But maybe just before I touch on that one, I think we're looking at nyaya dzema contracts. You actually see that it's unfortunate we still see a number of organizations having excessively one-sided contracts, whereby there's very little time that I'm given to understand, what's written. The language that is being used, there are quite a number of pages where one is even tempted to think maybe I need a lawyer to interpret, buying a single thing. I think we see this from banks, we see this in other areas. But what we're actually doing, we're working closely with the regulatory authorities in various areas. For example, if it's to do with the banks, we then want to work with the regulator, in this case maybe the Central Bank, Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, to ensure that the regulated entities do not come up with contracts that are one-sided. We want them to come up with contracts, that are fair. So it's something that we are seriously working with a regulator, so that at the end of the day, the consumer has got a fair hearing when it comes to some of these contracts. Now, coming up onto what you're talking about, the disclaimer clauses, yes, we still see a number of these in various organizations, and I think the major culprits are actually your retail outlets. It's very unfortunate, very unfair, and illegal, according to the Consumer Protection Act, Section 42. It's illegal to display that no return, no refund, no warranty, no exchange. It's illegal. Yes, we've had issues trying to make the service providers understand that this is illegal. But then it took us quite some time, a number of years, where we are consulting, the consumers, we're consulting the various service providers in coming up with what we believe is fair. It's unfortunate that at times some of these service providers, they think they are always going to be service providers. I've got a case in point where I think 2 days ago we went into one of these places, and yes, they defended the issue of coming up with these disclaimer clauses, which is very unfortunate, because they forget that the moment they walk out of their shop, they also become a customer, and they will run to us to be protected, just like what the other person is looking for. So what is it that we're doing? We keep educating. Awareness campaigns are actually in progress to make sure that our service providers are aware. Maybe the question might be, why is it illegal to say no return, no refund? It's illegal in the sense that shop, for some reason I'm rushing to somewhere, maybe ndoda kumhanyira kubhazi, ndanzi nditenge chakati mushopi, ndinongotenga ndisina kunyasa kutarisa. The moment I get home, I discover that no, there's actually a problem with this. I've got a right to go back to that shop, get a full refund, no deductions.
Kokakakudzai kuti honai takanama apa pamadziro kuti atidzoreri todini.
Ndo parutangira mhosva ipapo. That aspect of displaying mhosva yatotanga, we are actually in the process of recruiting. In fact, we've actually done that. Very soon we are going to be seeing our inspectors, our investigators moving around. There will not be any excuse. So we get into a place, you are displaying these disclaimer clauses, ticket ndo parutangira ipap, and then we get people coming to complain, and we then invite them to come in. Those are actually additional penalties that we are going to incur. But the whole idea is not to punish business, but just to say, get smart money, do your activities in an ethical manner, I think we will all enjoy it. If consumers are actually, get fair value, they're actually being treated nicely, they will refer you to other people, they will come and buy more. That's how you actually flourish. And the consumer on the other side will also enjoy, constant supply of goods and services. So it's not punishing anyone. Those that will be found, on the wrong side of the law, we are actually coming. I think we've been talking possibly the past year or so. We've just been trying to talk, but these days, moving forward, you are going to be punished. We're waiting for our regulations to come out. I think in the next few weeks, they will be there so that they clearly outline the penalty levels that these unscrupulous businesses are going to pay for behaving unethically.
Yeah, just to add on that one, I think what we are saying as a commission is that the act is there. But if you look at the work that we're doing first is to educate, because that's what we are doing. And I actually want to thank Star FM for coming up with these programs, because these are very critical for us. Because we are saying we need to educate these businesses who are displaying those disclaimer clauses. But we are saying after we've educated them, then our people will now come and take the necessary action. I think that's the strategy that we are using as a commission.
Okay, someone is, we are fast running out of time. Someone is saying, my issue is about a parking space. Most shops do not include us on their parking space. When it's raining, we face challenges. Every shopping center must have a disabled parking space that is wider than other parking spaces. This is George Vururu from Milton Park. Thank you so much for coming through with that contribution. Nguva yedu ndoya manya. I think there is need to continue this conversation, because zvakawanda zvatisina kumbo bata. We want to understand the right to choose, kuti consumers rights avo akambomira sei, vanosarudza sei izvi zvinoita kana vachimbunyikidzwa, because we've seen some shops wasarirwa nechange paye vokuzoti aunogona kutora chakati chinoenderana nechange yako. Saka sometimes unenge usina choice wopedzisira wakutora. Saka toda kunzwisisa kuti ipapo mutemo uri kuti kudi the right to information, as Dr. Nkosi has already alluded to, and also the right to be heard as well as redress. Ndo yatanga takuda kuti tipinde mairi tinzo kuti zvese izvi zvaitwa zvapera, ndezvipi zvandofanira kuita inini kuti ndinge ndichiturawo zvichemo zvangu. So I think we would need to continue this conversation next week, tichitangira patagumira. Vakawanda vari kupinda pa WhatsApp platform yedu, hanzi nemumwe dai mamwe mashops achigadzirawo sezvakaita mamwe mashops mahombe tinopinda zvakanaka. Ndini Mr. Live Wire Stanford Chuma, representing Highfield. Thank you so much for coming through. Anzi mumwe, the issue of no returns and refunds, does it apply to pharmacies? Anzi nemumwe, yes, pa change apo. Especially vava mention, I will show the commissioners my messages enyu, even though vachazotora matano nema shop amadoma aya. Anzi pane dambudziko ipapo panyaya dzemachange pekuti unomanikidzwa kutora zvinhu zvaunenge usingade. Asi nekuda kwenguva yedu, maybe tipei ma contacts enyu ekuti vanenge vasangana nematambudziko kana kuti vane information yavanenge vachida kukuzivisai zvavanenge vachisangana nazvo vanokuwana ipapi.
Okay, thank you so much. As you have said, when you were introducing me, my name is Kulawasha Mdereri. I'm the Research and the Public Affairs Manager at the Consumer Protection Commission. My mobile number is 0772 472 227, and this is a WhatsApp number, so they can get in touch with us at this particular number. I think I can repeat again. It's 0772 472 227.
Right, okay. You can also get hold of me on 0783 268 654. 0783 268 654. That is kana vamudereri vachitadza kubatika ndibatei zvakare tinoedza kuti tibatsirane consumer related issues.
Thank you so much. With that, we have come to the end of our program. I hope you found this episode of the Disability Factor informative. I want to thank my guests, Dr. Mthokozi Sinkosi, as well as Mr. Kudakwashe Mudereri from the Consumer Protection Commission, for sharing with us some of the provisions of the Consumer Protection Act. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time to talk to us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good night, our listeners.
Okay, I will also want to thank my producer, Miss Aisha Nyanzunda, as well as Tonderai Moyo, who's behind the scenes ensuring that we are live on our social media platforms. I'm Siphathisiwe Mpofu. Catch me again same time next week on your number one station, Star FM, sounding good all the time. Templeman is up next. Good evening.
You've been listening to Disability Factor. Join us again next time on Star FM.